Cat Night special guest exclusive podcast right here in the tradcatnight.org website. Folks, today is August 17th, 2020. Hope you all are having a very wonderful and blessed day. As always, we continue to keep the podcasting moving along here at Trad Cat Night. And boy, do we have a doozy of a day today. My goodness, take a look at the schedule today. We got Alex Newman, prolific New World Order exposer, writer, coming up at noon. We've got Dr. Lorraine Day. Who else do we have here? Richard from the program. Track at Night Followers is going to be on the program today. And I'm waiting to hear back from one other guest, so I don't want to announce it yet. But right now we've got first-time guest Dia Beltran on the program. She was highly recommended by Romola D, who comes on the program every month to really break down the New World Order. So we're looking forward to getting to know Dia, who's out in Australia and doing some YouTubing herself and interviewing and all that good stuff. Before we hand it over to Dia to get to know her a little bit better, folks, we've got to make a mention of our sponsors. And thank you for all those who have sponsored Track Cat Night in times past, and looking forward to working with new individuals in the future. Get over to jacksberry.com, a Catholic website and service dedicated to the teaching of the virtues, evangelization, and strong devotion to the Immaculate and Sacred Heart. There's many saint quotes, prayers, articles posted throughout the week to help keep you locked in on the straight and narrow in a severe crisis in the church and world at large. Please visit the prayer request, prayer intention section. Can't thank John Dean enough for all that he is doing. We also have longtime follower Mike Berry and his social reign of ChristTheKing.com, dedicated to the education and promotion of the solution for the insanity which is enveloping the world. Mike, thanks so much for all that you are doing. We also have a Turbulent Times kits that we are sending out to those who are interested, who are members of Trad Cat Night. And it's all the prayers, sacramentals, herbs, which in accordance with Catholic prophecy are necessary for the times ahead. All sacramentals are traditionally blessed by Father Voigt up in Minnesota. Everything is sold to you at cost, so we're not making a dime off of this. I'm just trying to help Kathleen get these kits out to everyone. And I know I've dipped into my own money in times past. Kathleen has to get these out to individuals in countries, which quite honestly, some of them I've never even heard of before. So we are, of course, an international apostolate or website. So it's good to see the outreach that we've been having, especially over the last few years. So KathleenLLoney@gmail.com is the contact information. And we thank Kathleen for all that she's doing. And now, as I mentioned here, first-time guest onto the program. Very excited to interview Dia Beltran, who's got her own YouTube channel in Australia. She's Christian. She's been covering a lot of topics, similar topics that we cover here at Trad Cat Night, of course, covering Black Lives Matter, child sex abuse. I've had some of these satanic ritual abuse survivors on the program, like David Scherter, like Jay Parker, who returns to the program, I think, this month. Also, Fiona Barnett has been on the program in times past. She's covering abortion issues, decline in Christian values, which is one of the main topics I was really hoping to get into today to break that down. And just exposing the left. But Dia, thank you so much for joining the program. Just tell us a little bit more about you, for the next few minutes or so we can get kind of a feel where you're coming from, how you've arrived at this point, why YouTube, why do you do what you do? We want to know what you take.
You came highly recommended as well, so.
There you go. Can you hear me still? You're kind of cutting in and out there for a second. Uh-oh. Did I lose you? Whatever happened, I just lost sound with you. Oh, no. Good old Skype. Whatever you just click, now I'm starting to hear you a little bit. I don't know if like a butt. A little bit.
Hello.
Now, yeah, now I can hear you. Yep.
You can hear me? Hello?
Yep, there you go. Now I can hear you.
Loud and clear?
Yep, now I can hear you. There you go.
Okay,
Perfect.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, basically, first of all, thank you for allowing me on the show today. I'm a Christian. I've been born and raised in a Christian family environment. You tend to walk away from that journey with God, and then you come back to it and realize, wow, the world is not what I thought it was. You take that red pill, and then you can never go back. And so then what is left to do then? Like, do you go back in your bubble and try to be and hang out with your friends and be social, or does that all seem irrelevant and futile when you know things that others don't seem to care about? So I decided to take the plunge and actually make a difference at some capacity. I don't know how much one can do with with making videos, but I've been at it for 3.5 years,
Okay.
and I've had some traction, and so here I am to try and promote common sense and Christ.
All right. Now, in regards to just, I mean, your background. What were you doing before this? I'm always interested, when I come upon new YouTubers or whatnot, because my story is quite interesting. I mean, I have an undergrad and graduate degree in business. I was coming from the business world before you could say I was put on my backside and put on a new path and started doing this. I've been podcasting now for probably close to 7 years. Doing interviewing or whatnot. But what were you transitioning from? Uh-oh, lost you again. We're losing you. It seems the Skype ghouls do not want us talking today because I can't hear you again, Dia. I don't know if it's a wire loose on your end or it's just a connection or whatnot, but I don't hear anything right now. Are you there? Hello, 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 hello. Uh-oh. Whatever you just clicked, are you there? Can you hear me? Oh boy. Are you there, Dia? Hello, 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 hello. Oh,
Can you hear me?
yeah, now I can hear you. I don't know if it's like a loose wire or something. Is it like a loose wire or?
I hit a wire that time. I don't know what the first time I'm not sure what it was.
All right, yeah. Now it sounds like you're in a bathroom, but at least I can hear you.
Oh Lord, really? I can hear you perfect.
Yeah, sounds like you're like talking like from the other room, like in a bathroom
What?
from another room. Yeah, it sounds. Yeah, it's like
Maybe
very.
I'm using a microphone. Do you want me to stop using the microphone and just use the little headphones?
Yeah, whatever you can to get better sound here. Yeah.
That's so weird. Okay, hang on.
Is that better?
Yep.
It
Definitely
is?
better. Yeah, that
Okay.
is better.
I
Yeah.
won't use the professional mic. All right.
Yeah, and just
Oh,
in regards to what you were transitioning from. I'm hopefully you caught everything that I
I
said there.
did.
Mhm.
I did. So I wasn't transitioning from anything in that when I started my YouTube channel. It was more a realization of things that I
Okay.
felt empty inside. I didn't feel like I was doing anything. I felt my life was go to work, hang with friends, watch TV, sleep. That was the pattern for so many years. And I was like, I'm not doing anything with my time, with my life. I felt very empty inside. And then when I started talking about like, atheism, abortion, Christianity, Islam killing Christians, all those sorts of things, I felt better about myself, and I felt like I was doing God's work. But also, it leads you into a tricky headspace as well when you have people on the left and then people on the far right trying to take you down. But
Mm.
yeah, and so here I am now talking to you.
There you
Hooray!
go. There you go. I don't know if that means anything, but yeah, I mean, hopefully, we're making some kind of an impact. But we have I have quite a following in Australia myself. Tell us what it's like in regards to. I mean, especially since COVID-19. What's life like in Australia? We got some guests that say it's. I mean, very totalitarian. I mean, it's not as commonly known here in the States as it should be, perhaps. Is that the case? What is Australian life like?
Okay, so the state that I live in, that I'm usually from, I'm not currently there, is Victoria. And Victoria, the capital of Victoria is the city of Melbourne, and it has become a police state there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, even here where I am in New South Wales, which is the neighboring state above, it also affects you here. Like when you go into a restaurant now, you have to make sure that you fill out a barcode and that there's only a certain amount of people in a restaurant. So it has absolutely affected here. But where my mum and dad are, where my brother and my sister are, where all my family is and all my friends are, it's worse. You're not allowed out of the house at 8 p.m. The state has been mandated to wear masks. If they don't, they ensue a an infringement that they have to pay. And there's even footage of cops being completely uh,
Mm.
complete a-holes essentially to young girls and for not wearing the mask. And I actually just did a video. I would encourage the viewers to watch the video because it discusses the Constitution. And we have two constitutions in this country, the original one and then a second one that they made in 1960 that is treasonous to the original one that we are now operating under. So I would highly encourage people to watch that video and circulate it so that everyone knows the truth about the Constitution and that there's two Australias. The original one that was founded in 1901 and then the second one that they created on paper.
Is that what's the influence like in regards to China? Is China buying up a lot of stuff in Australia?
China has made life relatively difficult for my generation. Like it's going to be impossible for me to be able to buy a house because they are buying houses left, right, and center. And so the market value of housing goes up so high that I would need 3 or 4 incomes just to be able to acquire.
Wow.
It's quite tricky in that respect.
What are you supposed to do? Do you live in a kangaroo pouch or something?
Yeah.
That's my Australian humor for the day. I promise you. I won't say any more jokes.
You can go ahead. The Simpsons episode seems to think that we have this thing where we kick people in the bum with a huge boot. I didn't even know where that came from, but it all works.
Oh, that's good stuff there. Dia Beltran joins us this morning, folks. Let's talk a little Black Lives Matter. What's your perspective, your take on that? Here, listen, I had a lot of friends growing up who were Black, and I don't mind people protesting no matter what their colors, do it peacefully. But obviously here in the West, at least, and you can speak for Australia yourself, I mean, it's just devolved into absolute chaos and looting. Not sure if you've been seeing these videos coming out of Chicago, planned
Absolutely
looting now.
have.
Macy's doesn't even want to be in Chicago. That's the latest thing. Macy's wants it completely out of Chicago.
Of course they do.
Yeah, it's nuts. So break it down for us. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I'm not a fan. I think Black Lives Matter is utterly retarded, for lack of better words. I don't like it. It's not that Black lives don't matter. I mean, God created us all with the same intrinsic value. And if you don't believe in God, I mean, the argument still works that we all have intrinsic value because we're human. We're cognitive thinking beings with a conscience. What bothers me is the stupidity of the collective think of the Black people and the white leftists who also advocate the same garbage. Essentially, a cop does something that doesn't match the crime, and he shouldn't have done it. And the reaction is to shoot a girl in the head. The reaction is to bash the shit out of a man walking past who happens to be white. The reaction is to attack a woman in a wheelchair. And there are so many different varying reactions from so many different Black Lives Matter groups from all over the country. Then there's the looting and the rioting as well. None of it warrants the reaction that it's getting. That's not fighting. That's not like the freedom riders who sat in the buses trying to make a difference. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is putting shame on the previous civil disobedience.
Yeah, and I've argued this now for years. Dia, feel free to argue with this, but it's part of the New World Order plan to stage not only civil war in all countries, but overall a race war. Leftists, Marxists. Obviously, you got to throw BLM in there. Then you get your white nationalists on the other side. They're staging a huge fight, essentially. And out of this, I believe, this is my personal opinion, I'm one of the rare Catholics that thinks that the Antichrist is very close. Perhaps even next year he'll show up after the stock market crash.
Don't tell me that. That's depressing.
It's not depressing. It's exciting times to live in, right? We want to have the ability to resist and combat the man of sin. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm wrong. But when I do media appearances, I at least try to get that opinion out there, and I have my reasons why. But having said that, it seems pretty obvious that this is what they're trying to stage. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but what I was really interested in, and again, feel free to piggyback off of that, was declining Christian values. How we have arrived at this point where we are in society, where it's obviously very materialistic, naturalistic. A lot of people leaving Christianity for paganism or just something else, maybe nothing, maybe becoming atheist or agnostic. What's your take on why we are here today, presently, whether it's Australia, whether it's the United States, in a world which is declining in Christian values?
Well, I think in terms of Christianity and the declining values, we have allowed too much liberalism and too much of the Marxist agenda to seep into our judicial system, to seep into our education, to seep into all of these different areas bit by bit. That slowly it's changed everything. And also, look, I'm half Spanish, half Colombian, so I'm not anti-immigration in terms of I'm not anti-immigration in terms of allowing the right people in, but when
Right.
you just let hordes and hordes and hordes of
Mm-hmm.
people who don't match your particular Western values, Christian values, when that foundation is um, is deteriorating purely based on the fact that um, you're trying to appease them and be nice to them, that is a problem. Why are you appeasing yourself to them? They've come to your country. Let them appease themselves to us. So the problem is, I think that Christians have been weak, overly nice, and by doing so, they've lost their idea of what strength is supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
and it's utterly again retarded. Like that's my phrase is utterly retarded, but that's what it is. And so and also, it seems to be a dirty word, but race preservation sounds like a dirty word, and in part it is because so many of those people, again, are retarded. But there is an argument to be made for, how sad it is to lose like a whole entire group of people. The Mayans are gone, the Aztecs are gone, the Amazonians might one day be gone. So it's okay for Sudan and Japan and Israel and all these countries to keep the homogeneity, but for whatever reason, countries like Spain and France and Canada and US and here in Australia sort of impose this responsibility to be as welcoming and forthright to as many different cultures as possible. Now, with the Spanish, like that's Western, so it wasn't too difficult for my father to assimilate. But for someone who is like from China or from someone who is from a Muslim country, it is more difficult. So, why don't you house them in another part of the Middle East that's similar and safer rather than here? Like, it's just.
No, yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'll argue the same thing. I mean, the Catholic Church teaches immigration in general, of course, is okay. St. Thomas Aquinas and others talking about it, but this is an obvious agenda. What we're dealing with. I mean,
Absolutely.
they're trying to create this one world republic where there is no national boundaries, essentially. And then also from our perspective, Pope after Pope in the Catholic Church has condemned socialism or communism. I don't know about you, but I always run into supposed Christians who say they're socialist or communist or Jesus was a socialist or whatnot. From our perspective, I don't even give those people the term Christian. They would be heretics from a Catholic perspective. But that's what we're dealing with, is the buzzword of the hour is sharing, and it's coming out of the top. Listen, again, we're just getting to know each other a little bit, but for those who know me, we believe the real Catholic Church is essentially underground. It's certainly not is not coming out of the Vatican in recent times.
The Pope is
he's a
prophet.
Yeah, he's a Freemason. Well, I don't think he's a false prophet. I think there's a guy coming after him who's going to be. It's going to tie in with the UFO agenda. That's going to be.
A false prophet.
Absolutely.
The false prophet.
Yeah, he's definitely a false prophet. I think he's a high-ranking Freemason, Luciferian, 33rd degree Freemason, given all the gang signs that he get, hand signs that he gives or whatnot. And I know an awful lot of priests, like my former spiritual director, Father Paul Kramer's writing a 3-volume book on him right now, also believes that as well. But getting back to the decline in Christian values, let's break that down. So how has the world become more liberal? What do we blame it? It's probably going to be all of the above here, but school system, Common Core, TV, media. Is it the parents' fault? The breakdown of the family?
I think it's the fault of. I think they're all contributing factors, but it all seeps through when, for example, here in this country, and again, I need to reiterate that it's not something that I'm against necessarily, but we had the Whitlam government in 1970, and they essentially changed the Australian Constitution to start allowing I think they called it the White Australia policy. Australia was predominantly white, but then they started bringing in Greeks and Italians, and that was a problem at that time. And it is what it is. I have no issues, obviously, with different groups of people here, considering I'm the daughter of immigrants. But my point is that they changed the Constitution. What they did was treasonous to the original Constitution by adding an amendment, or however you want to word it. So allow the multiculturalism that was sort of imposed is governmental, and they don't do a referendum. They don't say, "Hey guys, can we do this?" They don't do it on purpose. They just sort of impose it, and then it just is. And that's what other governments around the world are doing. They're not asking their people, "Hey, is this okay?" They're doing, and then it just is, and then it's like, "Oh, okay, now I have to live with the new normal."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all part of the globalist agenda. And you said it's probably part of the UFO agenda. I don't think that will happen for a long time, though. That UFO agenda is going to be like, that's probably how like the Antichrist will come. But I don't think that's anytime soon.
Now, in regards to the child sex abuse coverage, again, as I mentioned, Fiona Barnett, I believe, was from Australia when I interviewed her some years ago.
I want to interview her. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, I was about to say I haven't been able to get a hold of her over the last few years. I don't know if her email changed, but I've been trying every which way. I know Sean over at the SGT Report, I think, interviewed her this past year, and I always receive like updates from her website. I don't even know how, but I just haven't been able to get in contact with her. I don't know if she's still doing interviews or whatnot. But I've had David Schroeder on, Jay Parker, and some others. But it's obviously a hot topic within the Catholic Church. We believe that largely, I'm not making this like a scapegoat answer or anything, because obviously we're all sinners or whatnot. So this is why we always say in the Catholic Church, pray for priests. But we think largely these infiltrators of the Catholic Church are Freemasons and Marxists. There was Bella Dodd, who was a former head of the party here in the United States for the Communist Party, and she talked about how way back, 1920s, 1930s, how over 1,000 Marxist agents were released into the seminary. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they've moved up, in ranks or whatnot. So obviously it's happening in the Vatican. It's happening in every denomination, really. And on the secular side, too. I mean, take a look at what's transpiring even here in the United States, the whole Epstein thing, Maxwell going on. But what's your coverage? What's your focus been on in general with child sex abuse?
Well, it's predominantly focused on what people would consider to be conspiratorial. People don't really like to believe that children are being born and raised specifically for the purposes of ending up dead in this industry. So some people, yes, children are being snatched out of nowhere all around the world and going missing. But at the same time, I also believe that there are children being born into it. Like, like when you see a sheep or a cow or a pig, you know that those sheep, cows, and pigs are born and raised to then be killed for our sustenance. It's the same thing with that industry. So these children don't know anything. They've been born and raised literally to understand that they have to please a man or a woman. And, these babies end up dead. Or sometimes it's, they wait until they're a lot older. Actually, recently, almost cried, but I didn't, when I saw a photo of a girl who was flayed. It is rumored that the woman who was flayed, the young girl who was flayed, she was 14 or 16, was flayed by Hillary Clinton. Which, they say that there's video footage of that on someone's laptop. Forgot someone's husband.
That certainly wouldn't be surprising.
No, so Hillary Clinton had an assistant or something, some Muslim lady named, I forgot her name. I knew it. Begins with H. And she had a husband. And so there's this documentary series on YouTube. It's called The Fall of Cabal. It's a 10-part documentary series. Maybe don't watch part 10. It's a little bit too far-fetched. But everything from episode 1 to 9 kind of makes sense. And yeah, and it's all about like the Rothschilds, and it's got all of this layered information about exactly what goes on in that world.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and they are all, drink goat's blood, and they all do these things, and and so it's quite disturbing, and that's part of what I talk about. Although I didn't talk about that in my 2-part series, I'm about to do a 3rd video on child sex abuse. I talk about adrenochrome, which is something that people also find to be conspiratorial, and how the government is hiding child sex abuse in Australia and worldwide.
Yeah, no, Fiona Barnett came on and told some truly horrific stories,
Oh, God.
Hunger Game like stories of children being
Oh,
released out in the woods and being hunted down. I mean, just like the movie, essentially some of these movies. So, and then Jay Parker was one of those born into a family. He's broken out or whatnot, but
mm.
and his stories are truly telling as well. Now, speaking about conspiratorial, I found it very interesting on your YouTube channel. I found an interview of you interviewing someone on the Nephilim and the giants. How in the world did you get into that? Because I didn't just recently, I just recently got, into this topic over the last 3 years or so, and I've brought on some more bigger names like Jim Vieira. Some of these guys have been on like the Discovery Channel or History Channel, whatnot. I've brought on Gary Wayne, who wrote Genesis 6 Conspiracies, also a good interview. But why Nephilim and giants? How did you get into
Oh,
that?
so weird. You really did research me. I don't know how that happened. But sometimes you're on YouTube and you just go down a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole I went down. As a Christian, I always knew that there were giants. I just didn't know the extent of it. And I remember being in Sunday school class, and my Sunday school teacher, Mrs. Mack, she's passed on now, but I remember we came across that Bible verse, and I'm like, wait, sons of God, what? Taking women? What does that mean? Does that mean angels having sex with humans? And she said, well, she goes, some people think that, but some people think it's the line of Cain and blah 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 blah. Anyway, and then I sort of didn't really think about it too much. But then years and years and years later, obviously, so about maybe 2.5 years ago, I must have been watching something on YouTube and fallen down that rabbit hole. It's Gen 6 Productions was the channel that I started watching on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they found giant bones, and oh my gosh, Abraham Lincoln spoke about giants, and it's an ever,
Yeah.
like the hole is a deep hole. Like you're gonna keep falling for a long time if you stay there. And I was so obsessed with it. And I remember reaching out to Timothy Alberino, and he wasn't interested. And then I reached out to him again, but I spoke to him in Spanish, and I spoke to him as a different profile, and then I got him because he thought he was
Nice.
going to be in Spanish. So I tricked him.
That's
And then I
funny.
got to ask him as many questions as I possibly could. But yeah, I believe that, and this is something that isn't a popular opinion among Christians, but it says in the Bible, as it was in the times of Noah, so it shall be again. I think we'll have giants back. As I know that makes me sound like an insane person, but they talk about giants still existing. There's some on the Solomon Islands, and there were some discovered alive in Afghanistan. L.A. Marzulli covered
Yeah,
that.
he's been on my show. Yeah, no,
Get me L.A. Marzulli, please. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
yeah, no, Ellie's been on the show. I'm trying to think of some other Gary Wayne. I'm trying to think of the other guy I had on recently. He just wrote a book on the Nephilim.
Lovely.
He's all over the site. But in any case, yeah, no, I mean the early Catholic Church fathers spoke about the giants. Blessed Anna Emmerich, the same woman who was behind the writings behind the movie of the Passion of the Christ. So the movie that Mel Gibson did, who's also a traditional Catholic.
Yes.
The movie that movie was based upon Blessed Anna Emmerich's writings. She was a Catholic, a mystic, a nun. She also wrote about the giants and interesting details behind that. So when I do shows on that, I always try to incorporate some of those writings. And it's also in the Talmud, in accordance with the arrival of this Antichrist. They say before the Messianic era starts, that the giants will return. So I agree with you to some degree, however that is going to take place. Whether it's a part of the the Antichrist sort of army or whatnot, or however it's going to be, I do believe that they are returning as well. But I don't know. I don't know.
Two. I think there's a mix of ways. I think one, human cloning and splicing and all that kind of crap. Scientists are going to be sort of putting things together that they shouldn't do, creating unnecessary hybrids. So I think the humans will do it, and I also think original giants will come out of hiding. But that's just a random theory. I just sort of made that up. That's just what I think.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe one day we just wake up one day and then drinking our coffee, we look outside and we just see a nice old 20-foot giant strolling down the street.
But hopefully we're all in heaven by then.
In any case, I see you have a friend of the program, Dr. Tenpenny. She's a close friend. She comes on every month. I've got a lot of these top anti-vaxxers on the program. Dr. Judy Mikovits, Del Bigtree from the High Wire, Dr. Tenpenny, Suzanne Humphreys. What's your take on where we are currently at and where we could potentially be going, even by year's end. There's talks of vaccines. We got Russia in the works. I think Israel is in the works. Trump's been talking about how before a year's end, we'll have a vaccine that'll be rolled out by the National Guard, which is raising the eyebrows of even some conservatives. What's your take on the whole forced vaccine and tattoo identification? Bill Gates patent 666. What do you think? Mark of the beast? What's your take on all the post-COVID madness?
Yeah. So look, I spoke to someone on the phone today who had a slightly different take on it, and I like his take on it because it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world and we still have plenty more time. And his take was essentially that COVID will happen until November and then it'll disappear. And I was like, why do you think that? He goes, because of the election. I'm like, oh, I said, I love that. But in reality, unfortunately, I hope he's right. I would like to be wrong. I would really like to be wrong. But I think what's going to happen is that, yes, Bill Gates is definitely evil and working for the globalist agenda. He's done work in Africa with vaccinations, and those children have ended up deformed or more sick than they started out. So we cannot trust him at all with whatever is to occur with this new vaccine. I don't like the idea of them being mandated. One, it's treasonous to do that, at least with our constitution it is. So if they mandate that of us, I'm choosing to not do it. Regarding the mark of the beast, I'm not sure, because the mark of the beast to me means something literal, like a chip. I don't understand how liquid in your body can be that, but the argument is that it will change your DNA, and what qualifies us for heaven, what qualifies us for that is to be human. So if we change our DNA and our insides slightly change, maybe that is a form of the mark of the beast. There's just too many theories to really know.
Sometimes I think, Dia, after every Hot Pocket I eat, my DNA is changing, and after a lot of this GMO food, I start to feel really bad. I had Chinese food for the. I was like, I wasn't feeling well all day. I was like, oh my God, what is this Chinese food? Jesus, it was some kind of DNA changing material in there for sure. Dia, well, unfortunately, we're just about out of time. What we always do for our guests towards the end is what we call shameless self-promotion time. So feel free to promote whatever you want. We obviously been talking about the YouTube channel, but anything else, upcoming interviews, podcasts, anything else, social media, and then we'll close out the show.
So I work on 2 different YouTube channels. So there's my own channel, Dia Beltran, DIA space BELTRAN. I do a live show every Wednesday night. Actually, I happen to have Dr. Sherry Tenpenny's assistant, Michelle, who'll be coming on my show this Wednesday night. I'm along with 2 other ladies. It's going to be a female committee, a lovely female panel talking politics. So I think people might like that. That's on 8:30 p.m. every Wednesday night, Sydney time. So I don't know what that means for you guys. And the other channel I work on is called Resolute TV. I'm one of the editors. I'm not really in front of the camera. But Resolute TV has boasted the likes of Jeffrey Tucker, famous American economist, libertarian Dan Berman, presidential candidate, and E. Michael Jones, Catholic scholar, lecturer. So that's a channel that we're trying to get out there as well. It's not a libertarian channel, but it's certainly very libertarian in its foundations. And so, that's my shameless plugs.
Good stuff. Hang off air here. We'll talk. See if you want to come back on the program next month. We'll see if we can work something out. I realize the time difference sometimes is difficult. But in any case, folks, thank you all for tuning in to Track Cat and I special guest exclusive podcast for this August 17th, 2020. Until next time, stay safe and God bless.